What's up, party people of the SFL? What's going on tonight on this Thursday night? Glad to see so many peeps already in the chat. We have another great show for you tonight. So welcome to Season 16, Episode 13 of Axis Live. I'm your host, as always, Dave Axis. Eagle, I don't smoke. I have bad allergies since I moved to Tennessee. I don't know what to tell you. And I've been really good lately, and then with the weather changes, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Everybody send me some of those little red tablets so I can take some medicine. What do they do with that again? Anyway, we've got another amazing panel to break down and talk about our Week 7 games coming up, to preview those. Of course, we've got Gunny here, as always, with his pearls of wisdom. We've got some new graphics tonight. We've got our Week 6 Diva of the Week winner. We're hoping they're going to show up. We've been trying to get in touch with them. We don't have confirmation yet. And then on After Dark, I'm trying to get Hunter Norwood to come on to talk about all the over-unders, the spreads, the power rankings, all the stuff through the first 6 weeks, the first half of the season. So that's the plan. Hopefully it works. I don't know. We'll find out. In the meantime, let's check out the party people. Party people in the chat. Let's see. We kick things off with Nate Hall, Tom Rahman, the long arm of the law, Frank the Franchise, Wade, Josh Farnsey, as opposed to his brother Jeff Farnsey. Marco Swift is here. Eagle Mondavi, Will Todd, Whistle 512. Whistle, I know who that. I hope that's our former Diva of the Week winner. Charles is in the house. Fox, another Fox. Fox, 2 shows in a row, bro. You shouldn't be stalking me like this. I don't know what's that all about. Ron Cochran's here. Good to see you as well, bro. Bullet Boletsky, James Walters 87, Bailey, Cam, LOL, Dave Diva confirmed. I don't know why Cam said that, but it sounds good to me. Doug Britton's here. Good to see you. And Doug Day. Oh, the Dougie Dougs are in the house. Yogi, my man Yogi's here. Bob Funk is here. Bo Martin Jr.'s in the house. Coco. Oh, my goodness. Look at all these people. Dwayne. I almost missed you, Dwayne. Did I see Ray Ray somewhere? Because I thought I saw somebody say something about her, but I don't see her. Hopefully Ray Ray's here, too. I'll give her a shout-out anyway, just in case. Oh, there she is. She said, how is everyone? All right, I think that's about it. And then Freddie just jumped in, and Mighty Joe Young, Guy Clausen at the last second. All right, let's get this party started with Dynasty and Chris Lee jumping in, and with Benji Matson at the last second. I keep saying last second, but apparently there's a lot of last seconds. Who do we have on the show tonight? First and foremost, we have he's a tight end, right? And there's a lot of great tight ends in this league, and we love a lot of them. We've got Benji's on the show a lot. Robert Garrett Jr.'s on the show a lot. My man Adam Williams. We got a lot of great tight ends, and a lot of these tight ends also are on the Axis Live show. So I appreciate all the tight ends on the Axis Live show. And this one needs no introduction. Frank the Franchise, Wade, what's up, buddy?
Oh, the sexiest tight end is what it should be.
Oh, it is you. It's you. I mean, who else makes a calendar about tight ends in the
That's
SFL?
right. That's right. Throw it to the tight end.
Boom. Hey, Bo Martin Jr., don't talk about my love life like that. What's wrong with you? Lisa's in the house. By the way, I didn't see Lisa in the chat. Is she here? Did I blow right by her name? I'm going to hear about that later if I did. I'm scrolling back through one more time. I don't see the lovely and amazing pink Lisa in the house. But I'm going to throw her a shout out anyway because she is the love of my life. In the Unfiltered Circle tonight, who do we have in the Unfiltered Circle? It's the general manager for the 500 playing well, up-and-coming, retooling London Knights, Chad Rowland. Chad, what's up, bro?
And there's so much talk about tight ends. I didn't know what kind of show I was on.
That's why it's censored. That's why everything's censored, bro.
Pretty much. How's it going tonight, Dave?
Oh, look at her. She's saying, Lisa just said, it was going good until she said, I'm here. You're ignoring me. Cam's putting hashtag divorce. I don't know. Maybe this party's not starting off on the right foot. We'll see. In the unedited circle, another tight end, the VP of everything that is Fort Worth Toros, Mr. Robert Garrett Jr. What's up?
How's it going, Dave?
It's going great. There's a lot of. I didn't realize until earlier today when I was thinking about how we were going to do this show, how many tight ends are actually on this show. I love it.
Yeah, we're kind of a big deal.
You kind of are a big deal. Kind of are a big deal in a lot of ways. Tight ends are big bodies too. And then in the unforgettable circle, not a tight end, but just as lovable as all the other tight ends. The GM for Vancouver, Mike Percoco is here. Coco, what's up, bro?
I'm tired of these tight ends always making me make my bed and fold the laundry. God, never marry a tight end.
Tight ends are bullies, man.
Well, they're rough.
I'm just saying. Especially if their last name's Percoco, I'm guessing, in your house. So, Mike, how you doing? Everything good? You all good?
Yeah, it's great to be here on a Thursday. I have nothing else to do.
All right, that's good. Thank God for
Except- Yeah.
that. I love that. Hey, Coco, you want to hang out? Sure, I have nothing else to do. That made me feel so special right now. All right, let's.
You're a diamond.
What's that?
You're a diamond.
I am. Oh, look at
so many beautiful cuts.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're a diamond in the rough. And I guess we can save this talk for after dark. Let's move on to some football. Week 7. Oh, let me see if I can get this going here. Oop, I should probably get rid of that one. See, I'm telling you, last show wasn't too bad, but this show, it's already turned into a shit show. I'm getting divorced. Coco's getting bullied. There's all kinds of bad shit happening already. Week 7 matchups coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. A lot of doozies, Frank. A lot of potential blowouts, but a lot of potential upsets and close games as well. Starting on Saturday, 4:30 p.m. on this Saturday, March 6th, Denver traveling to Portland. And I know that people see that, oh, Denver's on a big roll, number one team. Even they just finally lost a game, but still the number one team in the playoffs. And they're going to Portland, who's been struggling. But lest we forget what happened last season, Frank, when Denver played Portland and Portland almost upset them. Do you see that happening again?
I don't see it happening again. Yeah, they travel again to Portland. You have to go back and look. And I watched the game from last season, and the 2 pick sixes for Portland, got them had them going in the game. They were up at halftime. It was just a poor half, a good half by Portland, but a poor half by Denver. And then they rebounded in the second half. I don't see, unless they have that pick six magic like they had last time, I don't see that happening again. Portland's 0-3 at home this year or this season, and Denver's 3-0 on the road. So that's something to think about. One thing about Portland that I do like is they got that home run hitter and a running back in Ezekiel Love now, and his first game with Portland, he took one to the house, 58 yards, I think, 60 yards, something like that. But he has done a great job with his running and being able to be that home run hitter that they were looking for. Matt South has thrown 8 touchdowns this season. That's the total he had all of last season. So he has gotten better at that. Art Vandelay is doing a good job of putting people in the right position. Will it be enough? I just don't know.
So as let's go through the stats today, Frank, Denver offensively is tearing it up. I think they're tied for first or second in points per game. They're first or second in yards per game and all that stuff. But then you look at their defense, and they're also up there in the top 3 or 4 in defense. Is there anything that Denver doesn't do right, and what can Portland find on that Denver team as a weakness to try to upset them?
They they re-signed just about everybody, and they only had one hole to fill. They filled it with a very talented wide receiver in Quentin. Riley Quintero? Yeah. And they've done a good job there. The only thing that concerns me about Denver's offense is the high interceptions by Josh Miller. He's got 10 interceptions, not one of the highest, but 10 interceptions and 10 touchdowns. McChesney, he's a workhorse, and he's that guy that's going to give you, if you need 5 yards, he's going to give you 6. If you need 4 yards, he's going to give you 5, and then all of a sudden, when you're sleeping on him, he's going to bust one. Defensively, we need to take a look. Their linebacking group's pretty good. Defensive backfield may have an issue here and there, but I just think it's just something that they'll be okay with. And Portland's just really going to have something special happen for them to win this game at home.
A quick note to everyone: if you notice on the graphics, we weren't able to get all of the data needed to put the power rankings together tonight. We weren't able to get it all in time. So instead, what you're going to see is the playoff rankings that Cam came on after dark on Tuesday and posted. That's what you're going to see on this. So only the top 12 teams will have numbers next to them. Those are, if the season ended today, what the playoffs would be like. Frank, Jack's data. Here's interesting. Denver only favored by 7.5. That's a little less than I expected. Probably a 10-point favorite, especially coming off a loss like that. Over under 52.5, which is like the second highest for the entire weekend. And so far, SFL Nation, who you got? Overwhelmingly, Denver 136-29. So over 100 more votes for Denver than for Portland. Moving on to Game 2 this Saturday. By the way, this game 4:30 p.m. Andy Hamilton and Gerald. I always mess this up. Somebody help me.
Judas
Essie. On the call. Going on to Game 2 on Saturday at 5:05. We got the Northrups on the call, Colin and the Rick Meter. Louisiana at Houston, Chad. This is an interesting game. Louisiana seemed to, getting back on track. Houston definitely on track with that huge upset. Does Houston have to watch out for, I don't want to call it a trap game, but, you're riding really high after a huge victory. Do you have to be careful hosting Louisiana this week?
Well, yeah. I mean, Louisiana is still Louisiana. I mean, even though they are 2-4, they're still a good team. So one of the things I wanted to bring up, and actually my lovely computer all of a sudden just decided to crap out. So I had a bunch of stats ready and everything. It's just sad. With this game, I mean, Houston has been riding in high. They obviously, as we all know, have a new offensive coordinator in Sham Varner. Working with E.T. King, which was his former quarterback. So the chemistry is already there. If there is any sort of changes to the offense, he's going to be acclimated to it just because of the fact that, they worked together before. But so far, I mean, I like what Houston is doing. They're playing really good ball right now, especially the defensive side of the ball and with the secondary. With them two rookies they got with Marco Swift and Roger Law. My buddy, I was actually talking to him today, and my buddy Jason Miller was saying about how Roger Law is his defensive rookie of the year. So now that my sheet finally pulled up, I can pull these stats up. But Houston, their offenses are pretty much close. Houston's averaging 19 points a game, while Louisiana's averaging Houston is 19th in the league in points per game, while Louisiana is 18th in the league. And then, points against, the defenses have been playing pretty good. Louisiana is a 6 points against per game. Houston is 10th in the league in points per game. But it's really about, different variations of that. I mean, Louisiana is 7th against the run, but Houston is 9th against the pass. So, my thinking is my key matchup for this game is going to be the Louisiana wide receivers taking on that Houston secondary that I was talking about, because with Law and Swift, I mean they can shut some people down. I mean they do have a +3 turnover differential as well, so that's something to keep an eye on. But if you're just looking stat wise, breakout players that could be. I mean, Reggie Streeter obviously is going to, could be a breakout player because, Houston is 16th in the league against the run. And then DR Sim, I think is going to have a pretty good game too, because, Louisiana has been 18th against the pass. Now, Louisiana does have a good secondary, but I think that they could exploit that.
Yeah, real quick, Eagle in the chat asked what the asterisks were for, and there were more asterisks on the last slide than there were on this. If they're in the top like 5 or so in a category. I put an asterisk there so people can just kind of see that they're in a top, like maybe top 5 or bottom 5. So, for example, on this game, Louisiana at 21.67 points against per game. They are like sixth or tied for fifth or whatever.
Sixth.
Right.
Sixth,
so right. So in on these graphics that you see, if you don't see asterisks, it means mostly they're just in the middle of the pack. So they're not in the top 5 or 6 or so. They're not in the bottom 5 or 6. They're kind of in the middle. So for example, Houston in this particular instance, they're pretty much in the middle of the pack on their stats, and Louisiana is only at the top in one of them. So that's how that breaks down. Jack's data has Houston favored by 3.5 at home. I think that's good. They're the 9th seed if the playoffs began today. Over under 47.5, which is about middle of the pack. And this is a kind of a close who you got. As of about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, Houston leading 90-73. So that could change before Saturday. Who knows for sure. But we move on to Game 3, Robert. And this has Game of the Week potential written all over it. This is the third game on Saturday at 6:40. Eric Vincent, Cade Stevens on the call in Jacksonville. Vancouver needs a win pretty bad here, Robert.
Yeah, absolutely. Vancouver started out extremely hot this season and have gotten knocked back a couple steps now. But as you said, this is a really interesting game. The defense for Jacksonville either plays extremely strong or, they're on the field so much that they're worn out. But Christian Christensen this season has played really well. 204 completions, leads the league. His yardage is only 1,600, but that's just due to the way that Jacksonville's really built their offense around kind of that dink and dunk mindset, just getting down the field, chewing up the clock. And, if Vancouver's defense doesn't come to play and stop the short stuff, they could struggle down the stretch.
So here's what's interesting, right? Vancouver is in number 1. I meant to put an asterisk right by the points per game too. I forgot about that. They're like number 1 or 2 in every single offensive category. Vancouver's just been tearing it up. Jacksonville is in the top 5 or 6 in almost every defensive category. So even as much as we like Jacksonville's offense when they're going, right? I mean, especially if CeCe's throwing interceptions or not throwing interceptions, Robert, is this really a high-flying Vancouver offense against one of the top probably 3 or 4 defenses in the SFL?
I mean, it could be. I think a big part of it lies on Hunter Norwood, defensive tackle for Jacksonville. 6 sacks on the season, and they're leading sack holder right now on the team. Outside of that, the highest is 2.5. If they can't get in the backfield and really make Tom Pepper uncomfortable, their defensive backfield's going to have to pick that up a little bit. And I think they can do it, but Robert Redford is a pretty dangerous weapon to have in the Vancouver backfield.
Yeah, I just confirmed. I forgot the asterisk next to Vancouver's points per game. They are number 1 in points per game. They are number 1 in yards per game, and they are number 1 in third down percentage conversion. Conversion percentage. So it is a high octane, very efficient Vancouver offense. How do you see? Which way do you see this game going, Robert? Honestly, do you think Vancouver's gonna be able to go on the road? I mean, this is not a game I would choose to try to break a losing streak going into Jacksonville.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with home field being taken into account at least a little bit, I do think Jacksonville pulls this one out, but it's going to be heavily on if their offense can perform because, as you said, Vancouver's offense is explosive, and if Jacksonville doesn't have an answer to it and maybe their defense has an off game, it could be trouble in paradise for them.
If Cam is still in the chat, Cam, you talked about Fort Worth, their defense on Tuesday night being kind of record-breaking. I'd like to know what the offensive records are. Is Vancouver in any of the points per game, yardage per game, any of that? Are they on track to set any SFL records this season? That would be a cool thing to find out. Also, it looks like Hacker just jumped in. Along with, I saw somebody else. Oh, Leon Thunderman just jumped in. And then somebody had a question. Oh, no. Where'd Nate Hall go? Nate Hall had something funny. He said something about Vancouver leads the league in hauls hauls per game or something too. I'll put that on the graphic next week, bro. All right, Jack's data. Vancouver at Jacksonville. Jacksonville only favored by 3.5, so I think Jack's data even knows this is not going to be an easy task. Over under 52.5, which is tied for the second highest for the week. So again, that Vancouver offense and the potential of Jacksonville offense able to potentially put a lot of points on the board. SFL Nation though, overwhelmingly Jacksonville 110-50 in the who you got. Moving on to game 4. Coco, St. Louis, coming off their first loss of the season, traveling to a very hot Florida team in Florida. This also has game of the week potential. What do you think about that?
This actually surprises me when I start looking at it because right off the bat, you think of Mighty and his defense, and then you think of the defense that St. Louis has been able to put up. And sorry for my video compression, by the way. It's really grainy.
Yeah, it is. Usually not that bad.
No, it's never this bad. But yeah, so when you look at Florida, actually, their turnover differential is actually -2. And that's not something at this point in the season I would really expect from them. A large, what we think about last week in terms of what we saw from Florida was there was forced fumbles, and that's when you're going through rookie running back pains. It's something you're going to have, but how dependable is that going to be on a week-to-week basis? Of course, St. Louis with their 6 defensive backs and their 3 linebackers should be able to limit the run. How well they limit the swing pass is another question. But I think this game is really going to come down to how well Florida is able to limit St. Louis from a defensive perspective.
Nope. Coco, did we lose you?
No, sorry.
Oh.
Just
Hey.
mid-comment. It was.
I don't know if you were playing tricks on me or what.
No, I was about to go into actually, and the thing is too is, Florida has actually played an interesting slate of games. They lost to the Glory, they won against Jacksonville, they won against Carolina. They had a big shootout against Mexico City, and then they lost to Sioux Falls. So what to make of Florida, I'm not really sure. And really St. Louis, when it comes to offenses, is they got to change their playbook. I think that's one of the big things when they went into London last week. There wasn't enough diversity when it came to the middle of the field and the out routes. It was inevitable that somebody was going to catch that. We saw DC; they almost caught it, and it's kind of what bit them last week.
So for those of you looking at the graphic and you're like, wait, Dave, you said on the asterisks are there because if they were leading. Well, I forgot to say the other part. The other part of the story that I'm making up as I go along is I put asterisk by Florida's, Coco, because I think it's very interesting that they score and give up the exact same amount of points per game. They're not blowing anybody out. They score 24 a game. They give up 24 a game. Is that something you think that could hurt them come this weekend?
I think, one of the things to think about that is, of course, we look at how many rushing yards that they give up per game, which was 93.8. But I think some of that's inflated versus some of the running backs they have faced, because they only have 2 linebackers. It's actually somebody we look at on our schedule. And we're like, wow, there's only 2 linebackers left. That's the only team we face that has 2 linebackers. And I don't really know if St. Louis is going to be able to capitalize that. So, yeah.
Well, St. Louis is tied for second in turnover differential, plus 10. There's only one team that's one turnover or one takeaway ahead of them. Points against per game. They are in the top 4. St. Louis's defense is no joke, Coco, and I think that could be the difference, especially if they're coming off a loss and they're going to play with a vengeance. Jack's data, on the other hand, they think this is a pick'em. They think this is such a close game that they won't give a spread. Over under 48.5, which is up there, and then 136-29 though. Oh, I'm sorry, 101-57. My bad. 101-57 in favor of Florida, which surprises me a little bit. So I don't know if people are thinking, now that St. Louis is lost, they can't keep it together or what. But overwhelmingly, SFL Nation taking Florida on this game 4 on Saturday at 7:15 p.m. Jeff Melanishin and Charles Doherty, my boss, on the call for that game. Before we move on to the next game, Cam did put in the chat, Vancouver is on pace to average the most passing yards per game since the Dallas Lobos averaged 426.7. Let me see what Vancouver is averaging. No. Are you sure about that, Cam? Are you talking about total yards? Total yards is 442. Since season 11, Vancouver is averaging 362.7 right now. Their points per game and total yards per game this season are not on pace to break any records since. Okay, so they need a little work if they want to get into the record books for sure. Gunny, glad to see you in the chat. Glad to see you here. Hope you had a good dinner. We're moving on to Game 5 on Saturday. Frank, between Tulsa. Oh, I put the wrong. So I messed this graphic up, and I fixed the graphic, and I forgot to reload it. Tulsa, Mexico City's obviously the number 7 seed, not Tulsa. Tulsa, though, playing well as of late, Frank. Can they go into Mexico City and steal victory, or what's up? Oh, Frank, can you hear me? Is Frank muted? Are you muted, bro? Oh,
he's down in the green room.
Yeah, he got knocked out. I put him in. He went back out again. Are you back, bro?
I'm good. I apologize. I'm the only one that has this issue for some reason. I don't know what the deal is.
Hey, it's no worries at all, bro. Were you able to hear me or not?
No, I did not hear you.
I was just asking. I said, first of all, I messed up the graphic. I put the 7 seed thing on Tulsa on accident instead of Mexico City. But that being said, Tulsa's pretty hot right now. But are they hot enough to go into Mexico City and steal a win?
Tulsa is hot. I'm kind of counting this game as a must win for Mexico City, and the reason I say it's a must win is because if they do win and Fort Worth loses, that's going to put them up, I believe, tied with Fort Worth in that division. So that's a good time for them to be getting hot right now is Mexico City. Good news for them, they're 2-0 at home. Phoenix Jones has benefited from Ray Bentley being in the backfield. He's rushed for over 500 yards, leads the league in touchdowns with 10. K.L. Barrett is third overall in receiving, 770 yards, 3 touchdowns. The ageless one, Matt Wilson, in his 11th season, has a QBR of 82.3, 10 touchdowns, 15 interceptions is kind of a concern. And you can't fall asleep on Mike Daggs. He's one of those good tight ends that's been kind of quiet this year. Tight ends had an explosive season last season. I think he's only scored once, but don't look for that to last very long. He's going to be somebody to mess with. The name Dan Tritz, all right, draft pick by Mexico City. Look for him possibly making his play for Rookie of the Year candidate. He's got a lot of sacks up there towards the top. I believe it's 9 sacks, and so he's in contention there for that lead. And I mentioned it here first. Brody Gulch last year, Rookie of the Year. Dan Tritz. The only thing that's going to stop him is the low number of tackles that he has right now, but that should pick up. Go ahead.
No, I'm looking at the stats. Mexico City is, last season, can you hear me, Frank? Can you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Coco, can you hear me or no?
Yep, I can hear you.
Oh, so we can't hear Frank. Frank, can you hear me or not? I think Frank's having the issues, actually.
Can't hear.
No. Well, Frank, you know what? Just talk, bro. Just talk about this Mexico City team averaging 405 yards a game, which last season, it was their defense, I think, that carried them.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me, Frank?
Frank, can you hear anyone? I think that's going to wrap up the Tulsa, Mexico City preview. Yeah, you know what, Frank? I can hear static. Maybe your thing's not plugged in all the way, maybe, or something. Can everybody in the chat hear both me, Frank, Coco, everybody? Yeah, Law says he can hear us. So I think Frank can only just not hear me. Anyway, I was just going to talk about Mexico City's offense really rolling this season, averaging 28 points a game, 405 yards per game. One of the highest, I think it's third or fourth highest third down conversion percentage, the whole 9 yards. So, and I believe Tulsa's, that's what I was actually going to go look for. Tulsa at 45%, I think, is one of the lowest, if I'm not mistaken. So, turnover differential looks kind of even, though. So, that being said, Jack's data has Mexico City favored by 6.5. Over under a 50.5. That's the third highest for the week. Mexico City crushing Tulsa in the Who You Got from SFL Nation, 136 to only 29. Moving on to the nightcap, Saturday night. My favorite game of the week. And probably the most stressful game. Because why, Chad? Because nobody wants to give a team their first victory, right? So we're going to be on pins and needles, obviously. DC's looked good a few weeks. They've looked pretty bad a few weeks. But you know what? The same thing goes for Lone Star. So what do you expect from this last game on Saturday at 9:20 p.m. brought to you by Jack Brown and Eddie Gage?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be I think it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, DC has looked pretty good the last few weeks, but I mean, the offense is, in order for this game to go their way, they're going to have to do better offensively. I mean, they're only averaging 14 points a game. That's 23rd in the league. You guys are playing very well so far this season, averaging 26.5. That is 8th in the league in points per game.
Yep.
And then the flip, then the opposite side too. I mean, if you look at DC's defense, I mean, they're kind of mid-tier. They're 14th in the league in points against per game, averaging 25. But you guys are playing really well defensively as well, 7th in the league in that regard. So, the matchup breakdown for me is really going to be the Dragon defensive line versus Ike McBride in my mind, because, they are 20th against the run in the league. So, for me, if Lone Star wants to go ahead and just, break them down defensively, I mean, that's what you need to do is get Ike McBride the ball. I mean, she's a beast. And, that's what you guys need to do, because obviously, their challenge is going to be Kevin Say on the other side, but you guys are the top team in the league against the run.
Yeah.
But you guys are 14th against the pass, which is about middle of the road, but it's still pretty good. But the thing about them, which will be another interesting matchup too, is their defense. I didn't really realize this until I looked at it, but they are 2nd in the league against the pass.
Yeah.
Which I found was interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, I was, I didn't expect that, but they really are. So, like I said, the key matchup for me, like I said, is Ike McBride taking on that line, because if Ike McBride can have a good game, then you guys should be able to handle this.
The interesting thing to me, too, in addition to what you just said, is they also are really good on third down conversions.
Mm-hmm.
But they're, I think, second worst, maybe third worst. I think it's second worst. I have to check. In takeaway differential, -9.
Yes, they are.
That's really, so turnovers could be the key here in this game. I don't know that I started the timer. I think I actually forgot it on this one, but that's okay because we're talking about Lone Star, so it's okay.
We can go extra time for Lone Star.
Where's Fox saying LSG wants first against the run? Was it first against the run last week? Ha ha. That's real funny. Ha ha. Very funny.
Well, you knew that was going to be said.
Yeah, I think somebody in here, I think it was the long arm of the law, said something in here too about us being basically an answer to a trivia question. Who was DC's first win against? I hope that's not the case this week at all. Jack's data doesn't seem to think so either. They're not extremely confident. They're less than a touchdown confident. They have Lone Star favored by 6 with an under of 44.5, which is about middle of the road. Who you got, though? SFL Nation has a lot of faith in Lone Star. And, Coco, you look a lot better, by the way. Your camera looking better. 134 to only 25 in favor of Lone Star over DC. So let's hope that SFL Nation is correct. And next week, I don't know who DC plays, but DC, good luck next week. I hope you get your first win next week, not this week. Gunny, I know you were running a little behind. Are you with us? Are you here? Are you ready to rock and roll?
I'm here. I got a short version, but I'm ready to go.
Okay, no worries at all. You know what we need to do though, because I messing around and joking and having fun and all these things I'm not supposed to be doing because I'm supposed to be working. I didn't have your music set up yet, so give me a second here. All right, I am now ready, Gunny, so you can go whenever you want.
Good evening, SFL. As everyone spoke, we do hope DC does well this weekend, but not so well. We'll wait for them to win in week number 8 instead of week 7. So go Lone Star Glory. Also, good luck to every team this week in week number 7. The second half of the season playoffs are upon us soon, so let's get to it. Also, I want to give a couple shout outs to some new charities that Gunny's going to support this week. For Ray doing my Halls of Montezuma, I would like to donate to her charity of choice. And also, today, I got one of the greatest gifts I get as a soccer coach. I went to go visit my old U8 team from last season, and it's a pleasure when 7 little kids run up to you, give you a hug, and say, "Great to see you, Coach." And with that, good luck again this weekend, and that is all.
Awesome, Gunny. Thank you so much. And Ray, way to be on the ball with the lyrics again, as always. And then also, you know what? Doug Day brought up a good point. And I think he just let us off the hook. So, of course, he's thinking of this from a Lone Star perspective. Dougie, thanks for bringing this up. DC had a franchise before. They already have a bunch of wins. They don't need this win this week as their first win. So we are not necessarily would be the answer to a trivia question. So, Doug, thanks for bailing me out on that. I really appreciate that. So let's move on to Sunday's games. Game 1 on Sunday. What do we got here? Fort Worth at Arizona. Fort Worth, the team that can barely score any points, hardly ever covers spreads. Isn't that right, Robert? I got to go to Coco on
Yes,
this.
sir.
I got to skip you and go to Coco on this game since you actually played for Fort Worth, who right now, if the season ended today, would be the 3rd seed in the playoffs. And this game will be called by Michael Trillo and Benji Matson. My boy Benji. Another what? Another tight end. What do you know? These guys are taking over the world. Coco, this is going to be, I think this is another potential game of the week, and I almost have this as a pick 'em in my books. I think Arizona needs a win. Fort Worth, I don't know. Robert Garrett Jr., he looks a little cocky. He might be a little overconfident going in Arizona. What do you think? Oh, you're muted, bro.
Oh, that was actually my Windows key. That wasn't my push to talk button.
Oh,
But,
dang it.
so,
I wasn't even ready to do the muted bro thing. Dang it. You guys have been so good lately, I didn't think I was going to have to do it. See, I could have done this right there. You're muted, bro. You're muted, bro. You're muted, bro. All right. Go ahead, bro.
Sure. Can I?
I'm done having fun pushing buttons, so go ahead.
So, what the hell I was going to talk about?
I don't
Let
know.
me plant
Something
that back in my
something
mind
about
now.
Fort Worth in Arizona.
Yes, he deserves strut. Okay. When they looked strong at the end of the season last year.
Yeah.
Coming in to the season, though, we had big hopes for Arizona's offense. I think they're still working on it, and I think one of the things that is really telling to that is the fact that AJ has 18 interceptions so far on the season.
Yeah.
Compared to CC number 12, who has 8 interceptions on the season. By CC number 12, I just mean there's a lot of CCs in this league.
There are.
And that's the thing. And you're right. They've always played games close to heart. But I think, they played San Diego last week, and what happens is we could see a little bit more in terms of what could happen if their wide receivers get open in coverage. And it was a shootout for the Totals last week. They were passing left and right. I expected Hacker to have 2. I expected Robert to score. I expected Thrilliams to score. Everybody forgot about Cade, and Cade showed us up last week.
Yeah.
And here's the thing is, Arizona, when you look at the scores of their games, 21-27 to Baltimore, 33-30 to Charleston, 31-42 against the Knights, and then 23-36 versus Denver, and then of course, last week. which I don't even know if that was a real game or not. So, yeah, I mean, it's just not something we expect from Arizona. I mean, I know that Eddie's really good at breaking down defenses. But again, everything on paper here looks like a shootout. And I think when they get into a shootout against very good defenses, there's a very high possibility of there being errors in the passing game.
Here's something interesting. If you guys are looking at the graphic, you see all the asterisks. Arizona's the only team tonight that has an asterisk by every single category because we all know Eddie Gage is the defensive guy. He struggled with his offense last season trying to, taking over the offense for the first time. Here's the thing about these, and you guys can look it up on the website. All those asterisks for the offensive side are because Arizona's in the top 3, 4, 5 in all of those categories. The problem is with Arizona, the asterisk for the defensive is because they're in the bottom. They're near the bottom of all those categories. So, Coco, I know time's up, but real quick, what's going on in Arizona where Eddie Gage, the master of defense, is Mr. Offense this season and the defense is kind of slacking?
It's been a lot of time in warehouses and Waffle Houses.
And we have proof of that.
But I mean, that's it. There's a lot going on behind the hood that is causing them to throw more than I think they would probably like to. I would say they would get Moses a little bit more involved in the run game itself, but not against this team that they're going to face this weekend.
Gotcha. Frank the Franchise Wade, you're not going anywhere, bro. I did like the response by the long arm of the law said, how would you even hear me fire you? Because you can't hear me right now. Look at, he's not even laughing. That's how you know you can't hear me. Also, we've talked a lot about tight ends tonight. So before I get to Jack's data, I saw in the chat a message sent to me or pinged me, whatever, in the show chat by the lady in red. It is Jack Wall's birthday today. So it is a tight end's birthday on the show of us talking about tight ends. And happy birthday to Jack Wall. Everybody should ping him and blow him up because you all know how much he loves that. So happy birthday to Jack. Jack's data. Fort Worth favored by 7.5, Coco, with an over-under of 47.5, which is about a little higher than the middle of the pack. Who you got's kind of close, 95-68, but it's all in favor of Arizona at home, taking out Fort Worth, coming off that big victory. Game 2 on Sunday, jumping back to Robert Garrett Jr. Sioux Falls at London. London's been playing inconsistent. Sioux Falls just finally got their first win. Does Sioux Falls carry that momentum, or does London get back on track?
Honestly, I think this one's kind of a toss-up, and it really depends on the Sioux Falls defense. As you see there, giving up 400 yards per game, 22nd in the league. And, if London's offense, we've seen this season what happens when Angus McLean has been able to sling the ball around the field. If he's able to do that, as he has in previous weeks this season, Sioux Falls is in a lot of trouble.
So here's the issues in London, right? And you see I have the one asterisk by yards per game. And yards per game is dead last in the SFL. And that's mostly because rushing is dead last in the SFL. London is averaging, Robert, 26.8 yards per game rushing. That's half of what the next lowest number is. You can't get it done by just throwing in the SFL. You got to have some running game. How do they get the running game going in London, especially against a traditionally good Sioux Falls defense? We haven't really seen it that much this season, especially with them giving up 400 yards a game. But how does London get the run game going?
The thing I'll say about that is, while they haven't gotten the run game going necessary, Robert Merrill is the leading receiver for London currently when it comes to receptions, at least. They're getting him involved a lot in the backfield, swing passes, screens, things along those lines. They're getting Merrill the ball. They're just doing it in kind of a different way. I agree. I think they need to get the run game going a little bit more. But they are trying to get Merrill the ball, trying to see what he can do in different ways.
So do you think that's a problem in and of itself, though, Robert, that your running back is your number one receiver, or are they trying to go maybe like the BDG kind of style thing like they did in Atlanta?
Yeah, I think that they're kind of trying to go after what Atlanta's got. Robert Merrill played receiver in Florida, so they're trying to use a little bit of those tendencies and try to get him the ball in open space. It just, as we said, they played real inconsistent. It hasn't worked out quite as well as I'm sure they'd want it to.
Well, yeah. And then, and we've talked about Sioux Falls, and look at, of course, I forgot the timer again. We've talked a lot about Sioux Falls. What do they need to do, just real quick, 20 seconds or so? What does Sioux Falls need to do to get the win in London?
Julian Tyree's got to play a clean game. At the bottom of the league for pretty much every statistical category, except for interceptions, where he is fourth most in the league. If he can play a clean game and Colin Hart carries the ball like he should, they should have it in the bag.
Well, Jack's data has London favored by 6. Over under 47.5, which is the same as the game we just talked about. SFL Nation 105-58, so quite the lead for London in there for the game 2 on Sunday at 5:05, brought to you by Brett Morgan and Josh Zirkle. Moving on to game 3 on Sunday. I think this goes to Coco, if I'm not mistaken. Or are we back to Frank? My bad. Hopefully, Frank, we can hear you. You want to do a little test before I do this?
He's in the green room. Oh, there you go.
Okay. Frank, you're muted on Discord.
You got me?
Yep, there you go, Frank. Thanks for joining the party.
Yeah. Don't fire me, Dave. I promise I ain't doing that.
That's right. You obviously couldn't hear me, but I said I wasn't going to fire you, but the long arm of the law in the chat said, how would you even hear him fire you anyway?
I heard that. Yeah. Good one.
Baltimore and Atlanta this week. I do need to get back on the timer. Frank, what do you think? Baltimore riding high, number 2 seed if the playoffs start today. Atlanta in the playoffs, number 11. Kind of like they were playing last year. They kind of, stayed around that latter half and then kind of made a little bit of a push. I think they ended up around 10 or 11, if I'm not mistaken. But going to the Hive, one of the hardest places to play. How do you see this game going down?
This is going to be a good game. Atlanta is no joke, and BDG Hollywood is, I think, back to his form that he was in season 14. I think he's getting more of a workload and running the football instead of, he's still catching the ball out of the backfield and things like that. He's averaging 6.4 yards a carry, has 5 touchdowns. Bryant Dynasty needs to have a good game. He's thrown 17 interceptions. That's 4th overall, and he's got a QBR of 67.5. So that needs to be done. Siege Falco has been a steady option for Dynasty, hauling in 4 touchdowns. Boo Chisholm is not far behind with 3 touchdowns. I've got to talk about the tight end, my brother Jamal Wooding. All right, he's doesn't have a lot of targets, but he's got 37 targets, 24 catches, and 5 touchdowns, and that's tied for first with 3 other tight ends in the league. So the Swarm offense ranked 9th in yards per game and almost 400 yards a game. Defensively, they're sitting in the middle of the pack in most categories. Quanta Shine leading the team in tackles. Moose Papano leads the team with 4 interceptions. They're very evenly matched. And I like how Baltimore calls games. I think they do a pretty good job. Jack Wigmore, he's kind of high up on the interceptions as well. But he can explode and go for 4 touchdowns in a game. You just don't know what you're going to end up getting.
Baltimore's 2nd in turnover differential at +10. They're 3rd in points allowed at just over 19. When you look at the graphic, though, Frank, is it pretty much, to me, it looks like it's going to be like a 28-21 game. Oh, you can't hear me again? Oh, Frank can't hear me again. Dang it. All right, I'm going to have Chad take over here since we're going to him next. Anyway, Chad, Baltimore scores 28 a game.
I can't hear you.
Atlanta scores 28 a game. And Atlanta gives up almost 28 a game. The only difference I see there is Baltimore only giving up 19. So is this like a 28-21 game, you think, to you in favor of Baltimore?
I mean, I could see it that way. Baltimore, great defense. Obviously, I helped build it, but I always have to plug that in there. But yeah, I mean, this could be a really back and forth game. I mean, it just depending on which Bryant dynasty shows up.
And which
guy that,
BDG Hollywood shows up.
true, which BDG Hollywood shows up, but BDG just shows up no matter what, man. I mean, he's such a dominant player.
2 games ago, 8 carries for 24 yards, or that might have been last game. I can't remember. He's
true.
had a couple of those this season, bro.
I mean, everybody has their off days. I mean, I heard Cam try to do Christopher Walken the other night. That was way off.
Everybody.
But that's
perfect.
But with this, with Baltimore versus Atlanta, it's always a great showdown. I mean, I know for a fact because being a former Baltimore Vulture myself, going up in that first game, I think it was in season 15, we were really heavily favored and just got beat. So you never say never about the Atlanta Swarm for sure.
True that.
Can y'all hear me now?
Now we can, Frank. I just had Chad fill in for you, bro.
Appreciate it, Chad. I caught the last end of it. I do echo, and if you didn't hear me before, Bryant Dynasty, needs to be able to have a good game. Atlanta could come up and bite Baltimore right here, but with this turnover margin in favor of Baltimore and the high interception ratio of Dynasty, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard at home.
Yeah. Of course, they're talking about the Christopher Walken impersonation in the chat. Fox is asking him about it. Fox, you're the one who asked him to do it on Tuesday, bro. What are you talking about?
It was rough.
No, he did say he does a Bill Cosby. I'd like to hear him do it.
I know. Cosby. I want to hear if he just talks about pudding cups.
Next time he comes on, he needs to do the Bill Cosby one.
Yes.
Cam just says, "Can we just give Frank Diva of the week this week?" All right. Here's what Jack's data has to say. They say Baltimore favored by 6, so that's kind of almost like that 28-21 game we talked about. Over under 54.5. Frank, this is the highest over under for the week. And in Jack's data, or I'm sorry, in who you got, 116-43. Everybody's high on Baltimore right now. So 116-43. For the third game on Sunday at 6:40 p.m., commentated by Mike Daggs and his best friend Matt Wilson. Going to Game 4, Chad, on Sunday. Carolina, Queen City. Queen City kind of finally starting to get things going, but Carolina, another one of those inconsistent 3-3 teams like a third of the league is. Where do you see this going? And you notice not a lot of asterisk on this graphic.
Yeah, there's not a lot on this.
A lot of middle of the pack numbers here, except for the low points per game for Queen City.
Yeah, let's break those numbers down a little bit, okay? So, Carolina versus Queen City, I think this is actually going to be a really good game. I mean, Queen City, has played better recently. So I could really see this being a barn burner, and actually, in all honesty. Carolina averages 22.5 per game. That's 17th in the league. Queen City is 21st in the league at 18.5. Defensively, Carolina's pretty good, as I've kind of predicted. They're 8th in points against per game, with 22.8, and Queen City is 16th, so they're about middle of the road right there. Against the run, they're both kind of in the back half. Queen City's a little bit better. I mean, they're 11th, but Carolina's 19th against the run. A guy like Jet Zero, who's built to be able to be a great runner, could really take advantage of that. The interesting part is going to be the matchup between the wide receivers and the defensive backs. I mean, Carolina is 5th against the pass. Queen City is 7th against the pass. So these are two really good secondaries that we're going to be seeing in this ball game. Breakout players for me, the swing king, as I want to call him, Logan Jack. I mean, can he be a guy that can take over running the ball and receiving the ball? We'll see about that. And then, like I said, Jet Zero, I think, is going to have a good game in here as well.
Yeah, long arm of the law reminding me about the timer again. Sorry, I'm DMing with trying to get the Diva of the week here in time in like the next 15 or probably like 10 minutes, or find a substitute for him to at least accept the award. So, I forgot the timer, but thanks for reminding me. One of these days, I might actually do something right on the show. We'll see. But if I did, then you guys would be bored the whole time. You wouldn't be able to, point things out like we know you love to do. Chad, I'm sure I had some comments on this game. Oh, that was the other thing. Queen City, let me see where it's at. -7 turnover differential, tied for second worst in the league. That's the other big stat in this game for me.
Yeah.
Jack's data has Carolina favored by 3.5. So close game. They're expecting over under 45.5, which is about middle of the road. This is the closest who you got of the week so far. SFL Nation, only 4 votes difference. Queen City over Carolina, 83-79. That could have even changed within the last hour and a half or so when I actually wrote these down. So who knows what's going to happen there. That is Game 4 on Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Hacker and Mark Lopez going to be on the mic for that one. Robert Garrett Jr. going to Game 5 on Sunday. Not sure. Oh, that's supposed to be 0-6, not 0-3 on San Diego. Not sure where to go with this game. San Diego struggling, Las Vegas struggling. I mean, you have 2 losing streaks here. Somebody gets to break a losing streak, though. That's the good news, right? Vegas has a 4-game losing streak. San Diego has a 6-game losing streak. Who breaks their streak?
Yeah, absolutely. And, this is a question that I've been tossing around a lot myself personally. Right off the bat, I actually picked San Diego, but the more and more I think about it, Vegas is at home. And, historically, that's been a big thing for them so far this season. Haven't fared that well.
Yeah.
And San Diego's defense, especially, last week, there's not a whole lot you could say about it. With the Las Vegas offense that has shown that they can be explosive in this season, that could spell disaster for San Diego.
Yeah, I just got called out. I just said it too, Lady in Red. I just said that I messed that up, but I felt bad for San Diego. I was just trying to be nice to them. Come on, give me some love. Give them some love. Jeez. They are 1-2 on the road and 0-3. Attaboy, Fox. Way to point that out. Here's the problem with this game, Robert. Every asterisk you see on this graphic is for a negative reason. The defense isn't good. The third down percentage isn't good. And San Diego is dead last in points per game. And they're tied for first, I believe, for points against per game. And I agree with you that historically, yes, Vegas has had a great home field advantage. I think that's out the window. I think we've seen it this season. It might be because of legends. I don't know. But I think it's definitely out the door. Bigger problem than the home field advantage being out the door is San Diego can't score points and they give up too many points. How do they even stop at least one of those?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the answer to that is something we started to see last week. They weren't quite able to get it going, but keep giving the ball to Optimus Klein. They started to last week, and it was really helping get the ball down the field. He was their leading receiver for them last week in the game. I think that he is the key to victory for them. If they can figure out how to play their offense through him, they're going to be a lot better off.
In Vegas's 2 wins, I believe Blades just tore it up and had just monstrous numbers. I haven't seen all his numbers for the last 4 games. I'm going to assume they've dipped a little bit. Is he the key for Vegas, or do you see the key being somewhere else?
I think the key for Vegas is Colin Pierce himself. It's been a very good quarterback for them in his rookie season, but one of the weak spots for him, 24th in the league in interceptions at 22, leads the league in turnovers. And that is something that you can't have when you're moving the ball down the field of the offense. So maybe the dip in statistics, if we looked at them for the last 4 weeks for Blades, is a good thing. It kind of shows Pierce trying to disperse the ball a little bit more.
Well, Jack's data, you guys ready for this? I was a little surprised by this. And you guys tell me, would you be surprised if I told you this is the biggest point spread of the week? Obviously it was last week too, Robert, and I didn't believe it then. I guess maybe I should believe it now. Jack's data has Las Vegas favored by 10. The only double-digit spread for the entire week. Now, if I was going to bet this game on the spread, I'd probably bet against it. I do think that Vegas will probably beat San Diego, and San Diego will go to 0-7. SFL Nation thinks the same way. Over 100 more votes for Vegas, with 132 to only 30 for San Diego. The fifth game on Sunday, called by Chris Curtis and Ryan Caudell on Sunday at 9 p.m. Moving into game number 12 for the weekend, the last game of the week. Coco, this is you. LA back at home, playing a really good Charleston team, who I think is better than their record. A lot of 3-3 teams have been inconsistent. I don't think Charleston's been quite as inconsistent as the other 3-3 teams. I think they're better than their record. Do you think the same?
I do think the same. And the reason is I tried all day to get a haircut, Tom. And the fact that you would question that my hair looks like a perm, very upsetting. All right? I tried. Yeah, Charleston, definitely. They've been they've had a lot of close games. They within 3 for Arizona, and then within 2, they got Harished. And although 7 points versus DC, I mean, the DC puts together a good defensive plan sometimes. Even Sioux Falls, we've seen that they're capable, what they're capable of doing this week versus Mighty, but they won that one out 19-13. They always have a really tight game plan, and here's the really concerning thing for me though is I really wish our defensive stats had the total sacks because because Sully
What is Sully saying?
Sully's been sacked 28 times this season, right?
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
He's the leader.
He's
I know that he's up there. It's either 25 or 28, but yeah, that is nuts. And I'm not talking like Nico nuts.
Not like Coco nuts
or Coco's nuts. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, not.
That's good.
I
Hey, here's something before we digress much further. What do you think about? I'm confirming this. I confirmed it 3 times. Look at the yards against per game for both teams. They are identical. Identical. I checked the stats 3 times to make sure that was the case. 363.8, almost 364 yards. Both teams, both defenses, and giving up almost the exact same amount of points.
that's like fake news. That can't be.
I didn't think it was real either, but I'm looking at it again now just to make sure. Right there, they're right next to each other. 363.8, 363.8. Kind of crazy. The difference is LA is one of the leaders in scoring and in yards per game. So I kind of see LA's offense probably having the advantage in this game. Last word, Coco?
The big major thing for me is how Charleston reacts to LA's defense when LA decides to do a 3-3 and play out of the bump. They're a pretty nasty team to play against.
Well, there you go. Jack's data also feels like LA, the sixth seeded team, if the playoffs started today, are going to pull this out. Favored by 3.5 with an over/under of 51.5. I think that's the third highest for the week. Another overwhelming who you got, 103-54 for LA by SFL Nation for the game on Sunday at 9:20 p.m. for the return of the commissioner to the booth, along with Steve Mullinex on the call. That'll be fun to hear Cam back in the booth. Hopefully he's not nervous and doesn't mess up a lot. Or hopefully he does. I don't know. It depends on which side of the fence you're on. Maybe we can get Jack's data in here and give us the over-under. Give us the over-under on that one. Lady in red, did you mention the total for the LV game? I'm sure I did. Maybe I didn't. If I didn't, it was 37.5. It was the lowest of the week. Lady in red, 37.5 over/under with a spread of 10 points for that game. All right. Let me take a quick look and see if we have any Diva of the Week material anywhere nearby. I don't see anybody. I was hoping to I couldn't get a hold of the person. I reached out to their owner. They tried to get a hold of that person. They weren't able to either. So I was trying to get that owner on the show. They were trying to do that, but they couldn't do that either. So basically, It's just going to be me telling you who won, and we'll have one less person doing pick'ems apparently. So I'm trying to draw this out to see if somebody hops in the green room, but it doesn't look like it. So let's see here. Oh, I just realized I think I forgot to put Gunny stuff on. I'm like all over the place tonight. This is crazy. I am not having a good week. See, look at that. I forgot to put that up on the screen for Gunny's pearls of wisdom. And now we get to go to Diva of the Week. I could do the impression of them. Oh, there you go. That'd be great. I don't know if you know this person though. You definitely know the owner, Cam. You don't know the. I don't think you know the person. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. But anyway, if you guys remember, look, I'm getting a DM right now. Let's see. Come on then. Come on. I think we might get somebody right now. Let me drag this out for like 30 more seconds. I'll remind you who the Diva of the Week nominees were. Shabazz Synergy, Cade Stevens, Dee Dee Sachs, Dave Axis for some reason, Robert Garrett Jr., and the combination of Curtis White and Stephen Walker. And I am about to tell you who the Diva of the Week winner is right now. The Diva of the Week winner, Season 16, Week 6 is Dee Dee Sachs. And guess who jumped in and then jumped right back out? He was having the same problem as Frank, I guess, is Eddie Gage. I asked Eddie Gage to jump on real quick. Eddie Gage, Dee Dee Sachs is the Diva of the Week winner. Eddie Gage, why do you keep hopping out of the Showtime room into the green room? Well, Frank, he's having the same problem you're having, I guess. This show is going to go down in history.
What up, though?
What up, though? There you go. Did you hear Dee Dee Sachs, Season 16, Week 6, Diva of the Week? Eddie, welcome to the show. Thanks for filling in to accept this award.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
So, I went back and watched that today, Eddie, and I don't remember who nominated him. It was Bo Martin Jr. And it's a great play, right? It's a great play. It's a great little diva move afterwards, doing the safety celebration and all that. But that was just before the 2-minute warning, and you're still only up by 6. I'm assuming that you guys weren't celebrating yet at that point.
Oh, not at all. If you notice, I don't even talk. When our games I play, I don't even talk with the chat because I'm a nervous wreck up until it's like official. I don't even talk. My teammates try to get me to come to the locker room all the time and speak, and I just can't do it.
Tell me about the play of Dee Dee Sachs this season thus far.
Well, what's really special about him, number one, he barely even speaks to us. In the locker room, he comes in right at the beginning of the season. He comes in at the end of the season, but he never misses progression. He watches every game because he comments to me via text messages all the time, which is crazy because the Hans brothers are the same way. But when I first got his build, he was trash and he did a lot of work. But we got him finally to the point where he is today. And like I said, he leads by example. He doesn't say much ever, but he's always around, So I love the guy.
That's awesome to hear. Well, tell him congrats for us. We tried to get a hold of him. We were unsuccessful, but thanks that you could jump in. And you want to stick around and do pick'ems with us?
Sure, if my internet connection holds up.
You and Frank both, I think. So let's see if I can. Look at Frank. He's like, I don't even know at this point. This is hilarious. All right, let's see if we can get. There we go. Let's get the Week 6 games back up. Frank, can you hear me? Are you going to be able to do pick'ems?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Let's go with Game 1 of the week. Denver, coming off their first loss, traveling to Portland, a team they had a tough time against last season. Who you got?
I got Denver.
Denver. Chad.
Denver.
Robert Garrett Jr.
I got Denver.
Coco.
Denver.
Eddie.
The way Portland's defense looked against me last week, I put half their secondary in the Pro Bowl, but I'm going to go with Denver.
And Gunny, are you still with us? I don't know who else
Denver.
might be having problems. Okay, good. Glad to see you're here. Wait, Eddie, you said you're still going with Denver, though. You said, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Game 2 on Saturday. Louisiana at Houston. Lots of talk between these two teams. Houston coming off a huge win. Louisiana coming off a couple wins, finally getting their act together. Frank, who you got?
Another must win for us, Louisiana.
There you go. Chad?
Man, I'll tell you, this is a tough one for me. I mean, Johnny's gonna hate me hearing that, but I'm going Louisiana. But I could almost say pick 'em in all honesty, but I'm going Louisiana.
Yeah, I agree. You know what? In Jack State, I think this was only a 3.5 point game too. So I think everybody thinks it's going to be a close game. Robert.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an exciting game, but going to come down to a Louisiana win.
I'm seeing a lot of I'm seeing several Portlands and Houstons in the chat. Believe it or not. I'm sorry, Robert. You said who? Houston.
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay. Coco.
Louisiana.
Eddie Gage.
Man, this is almost a pick 'em. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man. This has potential game of the week material, but I'm gonna go Houston only because they're playing at home.
Gunny.
Louisiana versus division opponent.
Oh, that's right. I forgot your rule. Game 3, which also has game of the week potential. Vancouver at Jacksonville. Frank.
I'm going Vancouver.
Vancouver. Chad.
Yeah, this could be a decent game too, but I'm actually going to go Jacksonville.
Yeah, I did. You know,
To me, it's close, but the way that Vancouver's been playing lately, no offense, Coco, but
if Vancouver loses this
I
game,
gotta see it.
if Vancouver loses this game and LA wins this week, Vancouver's going to be really battling uphill to win their
they're
division.
they're going to be really in a bad situation. But yeah, I'm going Jacksonville.
All right, Robert.
Yeah, I think Vancouver knows at the moment they're not in the playoffs, and they're probably a little heated about it. Don't take over.
Okay, Coco.
Pick 'em.
Okay, Eddie.
Who does Coco play for again? He just said pick 'em.
He plays for
Vancouver.
He plays for Vancouver.
Wow.
Coach first, fan second.
What's that? What'd you say, Coco?
Coach first, fan second.
That reminds me of Parker last season, but that's
Well, that was different. He actually picked you guys to lose, but all right.
Yeah, he did.
That was hilarious, actually. Eddie, who you got?
You know, this is another good game. I'm gonna say Vancouver because I just don't know if Jacksonville is gonna have enough offense.
Well, they got the defense, that's for sure. Gunny, what do you think on this?
Jacksonville.
Okay. Game 4 on Saturday, Frank. St. Louis coming off their first loss, playing at a really tough Florida team.
At Florida, I'm going Florida.
Yeah. I mean, on some of these toss-ups, that's almost what you can do, right? I mean, we're splitting hairs at that point. Chad?
And St. Louis is a divisional opponent. So.
Oh, of course, then you want them to lose. Chad?
I gotta give credit, man. I mean, last week against St. Louis, I mean, it was a barn burner for us. We let them back in, but man, I'll tell you, they're both going to be pissed off teams. I'm going Florida by a squeaker.
Okay. This was the only pick 'em for Jack Stated this week. So, Robert?
Taking Florida.
Florida. Coco?
I need Drew to change up that offense a little bit more, so I got to take Florida for now.
Okay. Eddie?
I did not realize until I saw your graphic today that St. Louis is plus 11, I believe it said, in turnovers.
Plus 10 or 11. Yeah, something like that. They're up there first or second, I think. Yeah.
That's crazy. And I think part of that is because of what Coco was talking about, the fact that they are very careful with the football. So I hate to see them change any damn thing, to be honest with you. Let their defense carry them to the way. But, oh, man. If I pick St. Louis, Mighty would be calling me like in 2 seconds. So I'm going to say Florida.
All right. Yeah, it is. It's plus 10. They're second behind Fort Worth. Fort Worth is plus 11. Gunny?
Amazing.
Eddie, I'll pick St. Louis for you. So St. Louis.
There you go. Look at Gunny, always saving the day. Fifth game on Saturday, Tulsa at the number 7 playoff team, Mexico City, Frank.
I didn't get to finish talking about this one, and I apologize to Tulsa. It's going to be close. I think it's going to go down to the quarterback, but I'm going to give it to Mexico City.
I'm seeing a lot of Floridas in the chat and only a couple St. Louis's, by the way. It looks like SFL Nation's loving St. Louis. I'm sorry, loving Florida. Yeah, it looks like it. Frank, I'm sorry, you said, what'd you say?
Mexico City.
Oh, Mexico City, yeah, sorry. Chad.
Yeah, I gotta go Mexico City.
Robert.
Mexico City.
Coco.
Mexico City.
Eddie.
Ramos.
And I know Gunny is going to be the only one to pick Tulsa because Mexico City is a divisional opponent.
You got that right, Tulsa.
And then the last game, the nightcap on Saturday, DC looking for their first win against an inconsistent Lone Star team, but a Lone Star team that's 2-0 at home. Frank, what do you think?
I don't see Lone Star losing 2 in a row, so I'm going Lone Star.
Chad?
Lone Star by a last-minute touchdown.
Man, you're going to stress me out the whole game. Robert?
I think they play you guys good.
All right.
I'm taking Lone Star, but go Dragons.
You're picking us, but you want them. I get it. Coco?
I think there's a very pissed off ponytail in Texas. Lone Star.
That's true. Eddie?
I'm calling that game, so I cannot comment.
Okay. Gunny?
Lone Star.
All right. Deep say in the chat. Sorry, Dave and Gunny, but I got to go with DC. Well, of course you do, bro. I get it. No worries. No, nothing but love there. All right, Fox, take it easy. Have a good night. Starting on Sunday's games, Fort Worth at Arizona. Frank.
Divisional opponent. Every time I pick Eddie, he loses. I'm going to pick Eddie, though. I think Eddie's going to pull it out.
All right, Chad.
Man, I'll tell you, Fort Worth to me is, if not, probably the top team. If Baltimore and them are like 1A, 1B. Arizona just been inconsistent, as we talked about before. Ashley's up there towards the top 3 or 4 in picks, I think. Sorry, Eddie, I love you, but I gotta go Fort Worth.
Robert.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take my Toros, but this is gonna be a very, very good game.
Coco.
Toros.
all this talk by everybody else, and all we hear is Toros. Eddie Gage.
Eddie's in the chat.
I know you're gonna pick Arizona.
I'm gonna give my best Chad impersonation. Well, to me, I got Arizona winning this one by 1 point.
Ooh,
10 to
I like
9.
it.
another close game. Back-to-back close games for you, huh, Eddie?
That's right.
Gunny.
Shout out to the David Harrell led Fort Worth Toros, but I'm going with Arizona.
Because Fort Worth is a
Hey,
Division foe.
That's right. Game 2.
I knew I liked Gunny.
Game 2 on Sunday. Sioux Falls at London. This one's pretty interesting, Frank. Who you got?
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty good game, I think. Sioux Falls clawing their way back, but I'm going to have to go London here.
Okay. Chad?
I'm not jinxing myself.
Robert?
Sioux Falls is on the rise. I think they keep going.
Okay. Coco?
I'm going to give it to London. They look better and better.
Okay. Eddie?
Well, I told everyone at the beginning of the season that London was an improving team. I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to pick London to win this game. Plus,
Yeah.
Sioux Falls is in my division.
Lots of Londons in the chat. A couple Fort Worths, but lots of Londons. Two different games. Duh. Fort Worth.
I'll
and
go
then
Baltimore if you can hear me.
London. Okay, Frank. I can't hear you, but we're not there yet anyway. Gunny.
London.
All right. Frank, he said he's going Baltimore. He must not be able to hear me anymore. Chad.
Yeah, this one's going to be a really good game, too. This has potential for game of the week. Got to go with the former team, though, the Vultures.
Yeah, kind of figured that would be the case. Robert.
Got Baltimore.
Coco.
Baltimore.
Eddie.
While in Atlanta getting BDG drug tested for digital PEDs, sat down with Mark, and he's feeling real good about the playbook. But he is playing the world champions, and I love Mark Cowley, but I got to go with Baltimore.
Hey, Chad, real quick before I go to Gunny, the game that you guys played Baltimore, that was in London or in Baltimore?
That was in Baltimore.
Okay. Gunny, who you got in this one? Baltimore or Atlanta?
Hometown Swarm.
There you go. Attaboy. All right. Game 4, Frank. Carolina at Queen City.
Queen City.
Queen City. Chad, what are you laughing at?
Sorry, I'm reading Cam's quote in the chat.
What did he say? Eddie could take some lessons
talking about
from
the Family Guy
Family
weatherman.
Weatherman. Coco clearly has. Chad, I don't even know the game now. I forgot. Carolina at Queen City.
Carolina. No, I was kidding. Yeah, Carolina to me, clear choice for me to win this one. Plus, Queen City's in division, so
There
gotta
you
go Carolina.
All right, Robert.
I got Carolina here.
Coco.
Please do something about that 3-4 Carolina. I'll take Carolina.
Okay, Eddie.
The 3-4 works. What is he talking about? I got friends on both teams, but I got to go with Carolina.
Okay, and Gunny.
Carolina.
Carolina. All right, Game 5 on Sunday. San Diego at Vegas. The largest point spread of the week, Frank. 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 Other way. Oh, no, hold on. Frank.
I think he's in the green room again.
Frank. All right, we'll skip it. We'll skip him until he comes back. Chad?
Let's just shock the world. San Diego gets the first win.
Oh, wow. That's a big call. Robert?
Yeah, I wanted to pick San Diego, but the more I thought about it, I'm going with Vegas here.
That's the chat so far. Look like Vegas.
All wrong.
Coco.
Feel free, San Diego. Vegas.
Oh, I'm sorry. Robert, did I skip you?
No, I got Vegas.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. Coco, sorry. Go ahead.
Vegas.
Eddie.
Vegas pulls away in the second half.
Gunny.
Las Vegas.
Frank, can you hear us yet? No? Hey, real quick, let me ask you. We got a couple. We're like maybe a minute ahead of schedule. Chad, if you're betting this against the spread, 10-point spread, would you still take San Diego? I can't hear you now either.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd take them.
Robert.
I think here's the thing. To me, it's just I think that Colin Pierce. I mean, they've been on this 4-game losing streak. He's not playing well right now. I could see a lot of interceptions in this ball game, so that's why I'm picking San Diego.
Oh, Frank was DMing me. He was in the green room the whole time. We're like waving at you and everything, Frank. I didn't even see you, bro. Sorry.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Hey, so you missed the San Diego at Vegas game.
Vegas.
Now, I've been asking. I'm going to pick back up with Coco in a second. This is the biggest spread, 10 points. If you were betting against the spread, would you still take Vegas by 10?
No.
No?
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I would.
Okay, Coco,
Yeah.
what about you?
I'm going to say no here because with Ross, I took like Vegas.
Okay. No, right, but do you need? What I'm saying is, do you think Vegas? Would you take them to win by 10 or more?
Oh, I was just going to try to take it both times. Vegas.
Trying to play both sides of the fence, attaboy. Eddie, you took Vegas. Do you take Vegas to win by 10 points or more?
Yep.
Okay. And then Gunny, what about you?
I'm still taking Vegas.
Okay, Vegas. Wow. So the 10-point spread doesn't scare anybody. That's interesting. All right. Last game of week 7. Charleston at LA. Frank.
Cam just cracked me up.
What's he saying now? After all these audio issues, Frank looking like a dad at a school violin concert, and they're going in alphabetical order. Oh, that's hilarious. All right, go ahead.
Los Angeles.
LA. All right. Chad.
Cam's on one tonight. I'm telling you,
Dude, he's actually you know what? He's quite the opposite of the last couple shows. He's actually got some game tonight. It's good.
You know what? I can't wait to watch this defense of LA shut down Buchanan Simons. He's probably not going to get 3 catches for over 20 yards. MVP candidate, my ass. I'm going LA.
Wow. All right. Look at that. Straight up. Robert, you share Chad's sentiments?
Yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm taking LA.
There you go. Coco.
Liking.
Hey, you.
Yeah, I love that defense. I'm going to take the Lycans.
Eddie Gage.
I've been saying since season 14 that Sully is underrated and underappreciated for his defensive play calling. I'm going LA.
LA. There you go. And Gunny, you got the last one of the night, buddy.
Play it like a squirrel. I'm going with Los Angeles.
All right, for the clean sweep. I'm looking in the green room. I do not see Hunter Norwood. He must have made other plans, which is fine. It was a maybe anyway, so no big deal. I think that's going to wrap up probably the shortest show I've had in months.
Thank you.
Which works out perfect for Frank. Since I don't think Frank wants to be here anymore for some reason. Let me get that Charleston game off of there. I'm sure somewhere I have. Nope, not that one either. Look at this. Nope, we're not doing After Dark. That's what we're doing. Right. We're going straight. Oh, look at that, Frank. You are not saved after all. Look who jumps in the room just as we're getting ready to sign off. Mr. Hunter Norwood to join us for a few minutes in After Dark. Hunter, welcome to the show. What's going on? Hunter Norwood. You're not even muted. I don't.
Yeah, how you doing?
Oh, there you go. How you doing, bro?
Yeah.
Can you hear us okay?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I hear you good.
All right, good.
You hear me good?
Yep. Hey, I don't want to take a lot of your time. I know it's your night off, but I do have a few questions to ask you about over-unders and spreads this season, home field advantage, how the Legends setting has changed and all that. So let me start with that. We know that they ran all that testing, the league did. They changed the I think they were up at 68% or something home field advantage before. Ran the testing.
Yeah.
And this season, I think most recently I saw you quote 53%. Does that sound right?
Yeah, 52.8, but yeah, 53.
Okay. And so when with that big change, how does that affect you doing the spreads and over-unders? And is that the biggest change, or is there something else, another factor this season that's maybe a little different?
Well, with this season, I'm only having to go off of what the league put out for their stat collection. So like, Cam said that home teams were winning by like an average of like 1.5 points a game. So that's what I am giving home teams when I do spreads.
Okay.
Before we were giving home teams 5.5 points because give me 1 second. During All Pro, home teams were scoring on average 28.5, and away teams were scoring 23 points per game on average. So that ended up being about an average total of 51.5. So that's another thing you'll see, like when I'm doing totals, for like the over-unders. I put a few 60s out there in the beginning, and then it doesn't happen that much. So like average scoring is down to about 47.5. So that's been another big change.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's been interesting.
Yeah, I would say two things on that, right? Number one, we're not seeing a lot of spreads in the 60s, and certainly not into the 70s like I think we saw maybe one or two last season or the season before. I don't know what the highest has been this season, but I think there's been, one or two maybe in the 60s. But on the spreads, we're not seeing a lot of double-digit spreads. I mean, we saw the 17.5 last week. We see a 10 this week, but that's the other factor, right? It's what you're saying with that 1.5 margin of victory is making all of these spreads so tight. When you get down to something as tight as a pick'em, what's the deciding factor in a pick'em?
Like between doing a pick'em or like a 3.
Yeah,
basically.
I mean, and what's the lowest? Because I think I've seen you've done a 2.5, I think, before. I don't know if I've ever seen anything lower than that from you.
Yeah, I did a 2.5 for this week with us in Vancouver, and then I did it last week with I think us in Charleston. So us being Jacksonville.
So what's the deciding factor between a 2.5 and a pick'em? If is it, do you just don't want to do closer than 2.5, or how does that break down?
There's no point past 2.5. There's really not even too much of a point at 2.5, but it comes down to like Baltimore Vancouver was a pick 'em. I, without a shadow of a doubt, couldn't tell you who was going to win the game. And that game was actually like a kind of a perfect pick for me because the total was 54.5. It was a pick 'em, so if you work that out, I was I guessed a 27-27 tie ball game.
That's pretty crazy.
So it was like that, right? So where was it going with that? It really just comes down to like, do I feel better about one team? Because there was a handful of games this week that were really close. Like
there's like
let's
5
see.
of them that are 3.5, and one of the pick 'em. So 6, almost half the games are 3.5 or less.
Yeah, like QCC Carolina was looking like maybe like a -1 for Carolina. So like that one could have been a pick 'em, but I just like Carolina more against QCC, and I think that another factor is so like when we actually go live with spreads, we want to make it look. We want to put them to where people will go, I guess, evenly on each side. So there's things we've tested before where like everyone loves Louisiana last season.
Right.
So we were like, even if maybe people felt like it was going to be a close game, I would still kind of push it a little further because people were like, oh, they're going to kill everyone. So they'll take Louisiana on a 10.5, kind of like, you know, Fort Worth playing San Diego at 17.5, or Denver playing basically anyone. I can give Denver 13 points against basically anyone, and people will pick them. You know,
yeah.
I can give Denver 17 against half the league, and people will still be like, yeah, Denver.
So do you think
So,
in the who you got though, you think people are just picking who's going to win as opposed to picking against the spread though?
Yeah, but I've used who you got at times before, because that's a fun little cheat. I can see where public opinion's going.
See where it's trending, right?
Yeah. So like last week I had Las Vegas -3.5. I didn't look at who you got, but I noticed after the fact that people were really on the Louisiana train.
Yeah.
And I think you guys were also like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
So, and then, you know, Louisiana obviously covers as the underdog, so you missed some.
Yeah.
But
so
it happens.
There's a couple questions in the chat I'm going to get to in a minute, but before I do that, I want to ask you, how's your record this season with the over-unders? How's your record on the spreads? And how does that compare to seasons past?
Give me 2 seconds to bring up season.
Because it seems to me when I read these off on the Tuesdays, I catch myself a lot of times saying that's really close, or he nailed it here, or he's having a hell of a season. It seems like I've said that more this season than I have before.
Yeah, I've been doing pretty well in my totals, which honestly, totals are a total crapshoot. And the other thing is, even if I'm like 2 points away or 3 points away, it's either over or under. So, you know, I could have 10 really close games that all went over, and I went 10-0 on overs and unders. So it's kind of a weird metric to look at sometimes. But let's see. So this season, I have 2 different metrics for against the spread. Home teams against the spread are 40 teams covered, 30 did not, and 2 pushed, as in just a straight tie.
Right.
Which was that St. Louis beating QCC by 3, I think it was, and then I think it was a Florida game was a push. And then over under is 31 overs and 41 unders. The main disparity in the over unders right now was week 1 and 2. I went 3 and 9 both weeks for over under because I didn't think scoring would drop off so much. Let's see, the other metric for against the spread, which is more of a I guess mainline thinking. So like favorites against the spread.
Right.
Favorites are 32, 38, and 2. So it's about the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not too far off.
So it's not too far off. Season 15, I think, was nearly 50%. Season 15, I went 62 and 70 on over-unders. And home teams were 78, 53, and 1. And then, again, I think, let's roll back here. I don't have everything on favorites against the spread, but I believe I was somewhere in the range of 64 and 66 or something like that.
Okay.
Which was basically 50-50, which is where I want to kind of be. It's hard to tell where you're really going to be at when you're not taking money, but as long as I can shoot pretty close to 50% right and 50% wrong, and hopefully the lines themselves are good enough that when people start putting money on them, that it still ends up 50-50.
So speaking of money, Bayou City Chef said in the chat, is asking a question, because and this goes to you saying anything under 2.5 isn't worth it. He's asking if the games were actually being wagered on, could they possibly bet down to below 2.5? Would you then have to start, I guess, splitting even more hairs to get it, down to 2 or 1.5, or maybe even to 1?
Right. So the interesting part about when we start taking money is if you are familiar with sports betting, usually how it works is on the bookie side, you set a line, people start giving you money for either side. If there's a lot of money on one side, then you start pushing the line to make it more favorable for the side that's less bet on. And then you try to push the line around so that money ends up even. So yeah, when we start accepting money, we're going to have to figure something out to start shifting lines around. So you might end up seeing a finalized line at 2 or 1, or starts at 3 and ends at a pick'em, or starts at 10.5 and it gets pushed up to 13.5 or what have you.
Right.
So yeah, you could potentially see it. We're still probably like this season plus maybe another 1 or 2 seasons before we start doing like a beta run, which would be us getting like 10 to 15 people and taking money from just them and limiting them on how much they can bet and stuff like that.
Okay. Couple more questions, then I'll let you go. How did you do week 1 this season versus week 6? Because I know you were coming in kind of blind this season as well with the new settings. Week 1 was probably kind of a crapshoot for you, and you were having to adjust week by week. You told us about your records, but how, from the beginning of the season to halfway through the season, have you actually gotten better on your picks?
Let's see. Home teams. I don't really like looking at home teams. Let me look at. Thankfully, I keep everything updated pretty well in the Survivor Pool Discord. So, week 1, I went 7-5 for the favorites, and then this past week, I actually went 3-9 this past week. But that was only because there was like 6 upsets.
Yeah. Okay. What about week 5 then? Check.
Week 5 was 7-5.
7-5. Okay.
It's kind of bounced around. It's been 7. I went 7-5, then 6-5-1, and then 5-6-1, and then 4-8, and then we bounce back up to 7-5.
Okay.
So it's been kind of all around.
Yeah, you're kind of like SFL Nation and who you got this season. They're all over the place too.
Yeah, I know. I do want to mention because I did want to mention it before. Back on scoring, average scoring in the league. Here's a fun little stat here. So, like I said, an All-Pro teams are scoring 23 points per game as the road team. So far through 6 weeks, the away team is scoring on average 22.93.
Wow.
So it hasn't really changed.
Wow.
The home team was scoring 28.5 on average, and that average bases on like 1,000 games or 800 games or so. So obviously it's a bit different, but so far home teams are averaging 24.72, which is a nearly 4-point difference. So somehow Legend has stunted the home team offense.
Interesting.
Through 72 games.
Yeah.
I mean, it could change, but standard deviation of points for home and away are nearly similar. At, home teams are 10 a quarter, away teams are 10. Standard deviation being like a single standard deviation is 10 either way. So usually 2 standard deviations is unusual. So I use that for other things. It's not too much of a helpful stat, but
so
it's
somebody in the chat too said so. Basically, the standard home team is going to start off -3, or because that's different than what you said earlier when you said it was 1.5, right? Or are we talking about two different things at this point?
No, we're talking about the same thing, but the standard home team is starting off assuming both teams score 0 points per game and get scored on 0 points per game. The standard home team is currently starting at about 5. I mean, through 6 weeks, we're at home teams are favored by 1.8. So it's starting to condense down to what I was expecting, I guess. But like through 4 weeks, home teams were favored by like 2.5. 2.5 to 3, then it's just started working down, and then this week we have like 6 or 7 upsets. There was a bunch of home teams went 5-7 this past week. The previous 2 weeks it was even split at 6-6. So away teams are starting to kind of come back a little bit. So yeah, it's all very interesting. Smaller little tidbits. Fort Worth is currently 5-1 against the spread.
Ooh.
And they lead the league. The one time they missed was I had them favored by 3.5 against Queen City. And they lost in that game in week 1. San Diego still has not covered a spread. And honestly, that last week when I gave Fort Worth 17.5, part of me was like, let me just see if they'll cover. Like, it was getting to a point where I was like,
couldn't believe it myself.
Just let's start throwing some numbers. Let's give them. Part of me was almost like, let's just give them 20. Let's just go for it all.
Well, you could have given them 40, as it turned out.
Wouldn't that have been crazy?
That would have been ridiculous. But I actually was. I mean, I'm sure you heard me. Well, you did because you DM'd me afterwards. I thought 17.5 was just way too high of a spread, and obviously I was proven wrong. But
San Diego can't score. You said the same thing about Las Vegas today. Las Vegas -10, but like Las Vegas might be having issues on offense, but they can score. So like even if they have trouble scoring, they're still gonna score. So I think inevitably they'll start winning by a good portion.
Yeah.
You know, it might only be 17.
Hey,
It might
Hunter,
only
we're
be 13.
I think we're starting to lose you. There's some really bad. Hello.
Hello? Yeah, you hear me?
Yeah, you're going in and out, and there's a lot of bad feedback or something too. We're only getting some of what you're saying.
Yeah, but it can kind of so internet over here. So
Okay. Well, it's that's okay. It's about time to wrap up anyway. But I want you to come on again near the end of the season, if you will, so we can kind of compare notes and see how the second half of the season has done compared to the first half. If you're down for that.
sure.
All right, awesome. All right, Hunter, thanks for coming on. Appreciate all the info. Love having the spreads and all the over-unders from you, as well as the power rankings. Appreciate all the work you do for the SFL and especially this show. So thanks again for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, that is a wrap. I actually did the right graphic for once tonight. Hey-yo. Our radio signal is going out. Yeah, it sounded. Isn't that what it sounded like, Cam? It sounded like we were like on an old radio or something, doing the old AM radio thing under the blankets. Anyway, thanks again. Frank the Franchise Wade had to bounce, as did Robert Garrett Jr. and Chad Rowland. Coco is the marathon man of the night. Coco wins the prize with his Vancouver jacket and his Fort Worth Toros t-shirt. Talk about a man confused. If you had a third team hat on, I don't even know what we would say about you anymore, bro. That's hilarious. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you hanging out. I love the chat. It's my favorite part of the show. Great show tonight. Have a great weekend. Have a glorious weekend. Have a glorious game, everybody. It'll be interesting to see if some of these spreads hold up or not. But the great thing about it is we'll be right back here on Tuesday to talk all about it when we do our Week 7 recaps. So until then, have a glorious weekend, and we'll see you next Tuesday right here on Twitch at 9 o'clock. See you at the Tees.